representantes del cuerpo diplomático, profesores, miembros de la universidad, invitados. Buenas tardes. Willkommen til Cervantes Institutet. Bienvenidos a un día muy especial porque vamos a hablar de la identidad del Instituto Cervantes, en definitiva, ¿no? Resulta un poco paradójico, y sé que nos van a criticar, ya nos critican, porque el Instituto Cervantes organice una actividad sobre el español, sobre la lengua española, en inglés, ¿no? Es un poco paradójico, pero realmente lo que queremos es que sacar conclusiones, poder hacerlo cada vez mejor, y para ello necesitamos la opinión de los expertos suecos, en este caso, y por deferencia a ellos, and because we want to learn from you, vamos a desarrollar esta sesión en inglés. Our friends for Skolverket, they don't speak Spanish yet, but they are in the right place to sort out that small problem, ¿no? So next time that will be in Spanish. Quiero también saludar a todas las personas que nos están siguiendo en redes sociales, que nos han pedido, sobre todo personas que están fuera de Estocolmo, y entonces también contamos con ellas. Es muy importante la opinión de todos y de todas, y por tanto, después de las intervenciones, habrá la posibilidad para ustedes, tanto el público que está en la sala como el que está al otro lado de internet, de hacer preguntas a nuestros invitados. Well, I switch finally into English. The role of Cervantes, of the Cervantes Institute, is to promote the Spanish language throughout the world. This is its main mission, but it also has the task of disseminating the culture of Spanish-speaking countries. However, everyone identifies the Cervantes Institute primarily with the teaching and promotion of the Spanish language. In Sweden, the Spanish language enjoys undeniable prominence, both because of the migration of Spanish-speaking populations and because of the great interest that Swedish citizens show for Spain, no? Proof of it is the remarkable figure of nearly 2 million entries, if I'm not mistaken, of Swedish citizens into Spain each year, as well as the fact that many of them, maybe some of you, own properties there in Spain and spend long periods of time in our country. No? Another very significant fact is that Spanish has overtaken other European languages in popularity among secondary school students. Nevertheless, these factors contrast with certain indicators regarding the status of the Spanish language in Sweden. Firstly, the number of people enrolled here at the Cervantes Institute, and we have some students with us, to learn Spanish is very small and has been steadily declining in recent years, making it one of the centers in the Cervantes network with the fewest students, and also with one of the lowest self-financing rates, perhaps the lowest in the entire network. This also contrasts with the large number of people who study Spanish in Sweden's public education system, and the level of language proficiency that many of these students actually achieve. In other words, it's one thing is for many students is that many students have chosen Spanish as a subject for their studies, but another question is for them to be able to express fluently in the language. So it's very good in quantity, and we are extremely proud, but we have to question, maybe it's a question for them, to see, well, what is the level, the skills for expressing in our language. Well, the objective of this meeting, there seems, in short, there seems to be a great interest in everything related to the Spanish language in Sweden, no doubt. But the results do not necessarily correspond to that interest. For this reason, we have convened this meeting with the main goal of determining what the Cervantes Institutes and other Spanish institutions, such as the Ministry of Education, which has a representative in Sweden, can contribute to make the promotion of Spanish language more effective, so that more and more Swedish citizens can use Spanish as another language in both their professional and personal lives, thereby opening up more windows of opportunity. As the Algerian writer Kamel Daoud once said in response to his son's question, "Dad, why do I have to learn another language?" Daoud replied, "My son, because a house with many windows is better lit than a house with only one." Well, right now we start with really the intervention of the participants. I again thank you very much indeed for being here. It's fundamental, and as you see, well, it's a fantastic panel with representatives of I would say, all the levels, no, of teaching of Spanish language in Sweden. Then, since they were, well, so kind to come along, we don't have really time for long presentations, from long speeches. So I will give the floor to each one of you. I will say only the name and the institution, and then if you want to make a very short presentation of yourself, of course, you are most welcome. No? Well, first of all, I will want to give the floor to those scholars that have made research on this very topic, the teaching of Spanish language in Sweden. So they are perfect to start. No? First of all, Raquel Österberg from the Stockholm University. Well, thank you for being here, and you make the kickoff.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you all for coming and for the interest of this interesting and very important topic that we are going to discuss today. And in my daily life, I have the privilege to teach Spanish to future teachers of Spanish as a foreign language or second language. And I think that is something that fills me with joy every day. We have excellent students, and in that way I think that we have a very positive future for Spanish. So I teach grammar and language education, and we have also student thesis, and the student, they write in Spanish literature or in educational topics or in language educational topics as well. So we have that as a daily work. We were asked to tell a little bit about the figures, numbers of students. So we have 150 students in Spanish each semester, and every year we receive, every semester we receive between 5 or 10 students in the program, in the language teacher program, and they have Spanish as their first subject. And then we have also other students from the School of Sports and Health Education, GIH, and those who have Spanish as a second topic. So in Spanish 1 we have some of the students that are going to be teachers in Spanish 2. The second semester we have like 70% that are planning to become a teacher in Spanish, because the program is not the only way to become a teacher. You can also become a teacher if you study Spanish and then you prepare yourself to take KPU. It's a supplementary pedagogical course in teacher education, and it takes like 3 or 2 semesters. And all together, we have many students that are planning to become a teacher. So one common comment when we have the presentations in the beginning of the year is when they present themselves, then sometimes I have students that say, well, I'm not going to be a teacher, I just study Spanish because I'm interested. So we have kind of the situation is different if you compare with 20 years ago. So the situation has changed, and I think that is because of the lack of teachers that we have in society. And also, if you look at historical developments, when Spanish became a school subject in 1994, or an accepted school subject, then it experienced a boom. So, and it outperformed other languages, the traditional ones like French and German, in numbers. But we also faced difficulties, because Sweden wasn't prepared in the number of certified teachers. So that is one of the historical challenges. And I think that this we have more of a balance right now in that sense. But if you talk about the present challenges, then we have also, I thought you mentioned it, that we have high dropout rates in secondary schools. So we have many young students that begin with Spanish, but then they drop out during secondary school, and few students that go further into upper secondary school. So that's one of the challenges that I think that we have to discuss, and also the future of the Spanish language teachers. So just a few words about the investigation that I have been doing. I was involved in a project financed by the scientific committee in Sweden, Vetenskapsrådet, and it was called TAL, Teaching, Assessment and Learning, and we studied the oral proficiency in the 9th grade in lower secondary school in those languages. And we have finished the project, but we are still publishing results. And what we could see was a high degree of variation. So we found good examples of proficiency, of course, but also a high degree of variation. So a conclusion that could be drawn is that the needs of support, of working with the motivation of the students, of maintaining the competences in the schools, it's still a really important issue. And finally, we have the student cohorts are multilingual, so a Spanish language teacher is often what we could see in our project, that Spanish is different as compared to French and German, in that we have more native speakers and heritage speakers of Spanish. And that is also one of the challenges that we could talk about, how to cultivate multilingual pedagogy when it comes to Spanish. So I will stop there.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you so much, Raquel. Now, next speaker, Fredrika Nyström. She was teaching in Uppsala University, but now she's in Äppelviksskolan.
Yes.
Sorry for my Swedish.
No, it sounds perfect. Yes. My name is Fredrika Nyström. I am actually finishing my PhD at this moment, so I'm not really an investigator yet. But I have been teaching at Uppsala University So I have some figures from that area and we can compare them. But at the moment I am teaching in lower secondary school in Bromma, in Stockholm, in a very average school, public school, and can compare these to contexts of education. So perhaps I should just start with comparing Uppsala and Stockholm a little bit, because it's similar. We have in Uppsala approximately 30 new students each year in the first level, A level. And approximately, among those 30, not everyone will be teachers, but the ones who continue studying on B, C, and D levels, they are more than 50% are going to be teachers. And it was actually very lovely when I was teaching, when I had these students at the first level, the A level, they all made references to their former teachers. They were there and they could take examples from good education that they have had. And when they told me about it, I realized this is not rocket science. The examples that they were giving were quite normal good teachers, which made me very glad and made me feel that it is important that we open possibilities to learn languages from early on, and that we make it possible to continue studying, because what you mentioned, we need more profound language skills, not just very superficial. We need to provide possibilities to learn, not only Spanish, if I may say so, other languages as well, in Sweden today. And I think we will talk about this danger that lies ahead in this sense with the new reforms. But in Uppsala, it's about 30 students that starts, and then 15 that continues every year. And those that continues in the B, C, and D courses, they go all the way, and that's the majority of them are actually going to be teachers. And it's been the same since the pandemic. It's been more or less the same. It's campus courses mainly, not online very much at Uppsala. So that's Uppsala. And Äppelviksskolan is just a very regular public school with, the majority of the students are studying Spanish, so it's about 100 in every year 6, 7, 8, and 9. And that's twice as many as French and German, and that's the normal number. And we have colleagues, and we are educated, and we do our best to teach them Spanish in these huge groups that we have, which is about 13-year-old students who are obliged to be there, and who has perhaps chosen Spanish because they thought it was the easiest language of the three. That's the context that we are facing. I think that has to do with these other things that we were talking about. And my research that I am about to finish this spring is about also not oral proficiency, but oral skills. Speaking, how do we teach and learn this essential skill, the speaking skill that most of us find the most important skill. That's the reason for many of us why we learn a language. And actually we often ask, do you speak German or French or Spanish, rather than do you understand or do you write? We often connect speaking with the skill, which of course is not true, but that's my main interest, and it is very linked to your project, but I started a little later on. So you asked us whether we have been investigating together. No, not formally, but mentally, during many years actually. And the investigation that I am finishing is I have been interviewing teachers and students and recorded lessons to capture when and how are the students actually speaking Spanish, and what do they think about that, and what do the teachers think about that. And the main finding is that the students speak Spanish when they have the possibility to do that when it is possible for them to speak in the classroom. And they like it. They think it's scary but fun. And the teachers think it's difficult to teach. It's difficult to get them to speak Spanish. It's a challenge for us teachers to make them use the language in the classroom in this context when they have so little skills and all the other contextual factors. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay,
thank you. Yep.
Now is the turn for Professor Mikael Berkrantz, the School Berket, and thank you so much for being with us tonight. He is one of the directors of education in the Department for Curricula of School Berket. Please.
Thank you. Yes, as Professor Galvan already mentioned, I'm one of two representatives here from Skolverket here today. Both of us work in the Department for National Curricula. Our department is responsible for preparing and producing national curricula, subject syllabuses, assessment guidelines, those sorts of things. And more specifically, I work in the unit for upper secondary school with the subject syllabuses in modern foreign languages and English. I have a background as a teacher in upper secondary school in Sweden, and I'll let my esteemed colleague, introduce himself later on, but we mostly have the same kind of work. And thank you so much for inviting us, and thank you so much to Rakel and Fredrika here, who introduced us to most of the topics that we were planning on talking about. And I think I'll come back a bit later. I think I'll stop there because I'd like to talk a bit about how Spanish is taught in upper secondary school. And my colleague will talk about compulsory school. And give you some detail about how Spanish is taught in Sweden in order to give you an idea of the state of the art of Spanish teaching. So I'll come back a bit later. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. You prefer to continue with the exposition of Skolverket? Maybe we pass to you. Professor Roger Persson.
Yeah, thank you. I work for the primary and lower secondary education unit, and I'm responsible for the curricula in English, foreign languages, and sign languages. And I've been working for a long time at Skolverket, but I used to teach also in lower secondary school English and French. Now, we can't be activists at Skolverket. We have to do what the parliament and the government tell us to do. So, of course, we don't prefer Spanish in front of German or French or any other language. We promote them as much as we can, all of them. You could say that the state for foreign languages, or second foreign language, is quite good in primary and lower secondary education. Almost 90% of all the pupils start learning a second foreign language, and the majority of them start learning Spanish. I think that is quite marvelous, but there are problems, of course. There is a high dropout rate, and about 20% fall out, most of them boys. And that is, of course, something we would like to do something about, but it's difficult. As long as second foreign language is not compulsory for everyone. And I would like to say a few words on what Skolverket says about the language choice, as we call them. the 320 hours that normally starts in 6th grade and ends in 9th grade. In four inquiries or reports from Skolverket during the last 15 years, Skolverket has suggested to the government that second foreign language should be a compulsory subject in all the 320 hours. But we don't decide. The government will take the report and they will make the decision. And for the moment, I don't see any big interest in changing this. But you never know. I'm just guessing. And of course, we would also like to see more qualified Spanish teachers. So that has been a problem, as you said, for many, many years. But it's a very nice thing to see how Spanish has been growing since I was teaching in school. When I started working, there was only German and French and a few teachers and a few pupils in the lower secondary school studying Spanish. And then suddenly it all boomed. Very interesting. And we have got the same situation, I think, in Norway, but maybe not anywhere else. So special. Well, the problem, I think I'll hand back the microphone to Mikael, because the situation for the languages in upper secondary school, you might have a few things to say.
Thank you so much.
I could just say before I go into upper secondary school that we have a feeling that most of you know, or probably everyone knows, about the public school system in general here. So we skipped that bit. But in upper secondary school, pupils would choose between 18 national programs. So there are 12 vocational programs and 6 programs that prepare for higher education. And in some of them it's mandatory to study languages. And one type of languages are model languages, which includes most spoken languages. So it's mandatory in some of these programs for the students to study a language 1 year or more. About 60%, I looked this up before coming here, that about 60% of students who took Spanish in year 9, 2022, continued in upper secondary school. And I was surprised and pleasantly surprised because that coincides with the number of students who go on to studying a vocational program in upper secondary school. Now, in vocational programs, it's not mandatory to study languages, modern foreign languages at all. It's possible to do so. Modern foreign languages, other languages can be chosen as elective subjects in vocational programs, but they seldom are in reality. So that means that 60% of the students who took Spanish in year 9, those are the ones who went on to a program that prepares for higher education. And in most of those programs, it's also mandatory to study languages, and they decided to continue studying Spanish. It's possible for students to choose another language, to start over, and as teachers, we sometimes meet students who wish to transfer from one language to another. But if we look at statistics, almost everyone stays with continue studying Spanish if they started in compulsory school. that's upper secondary school. So maybe we'll move on to our next speaker, and we'll come back to the strengths and weaknesses.
Now Elisa Magnusson from Folkuniversitetet. I have to say that when I talked to some people, some of your mates in the university, she was a very kind, very kind lady. But she said, well, but I mean, you are the concurrents, no? We are concurrent. Like saying, well, you are inviting us, no? And I said, no, not at all. We are allies. Actually, our role is to promote the Spanish language. So everyone in the country that is teaching Spanish is our ally, of course. We have to work together, no? So thank you so much for being here, Elisa. Your time.
Thank you for inviting me. My name is Elisa Magnusson, and I'm head of the language department at Folkuniversitetet here in Stockholm, up the road, quite close. And I guess my role here is to represent the informal education path that is typical for Scandinavian and Sweden, which is the folkbildning, adult education, popular education. And Folkuniversitetet is a studieförbund, study association. It's the smallest of the 8 study associations in Sweden, but we have a very strong presence here in Stockholm. In my department, we do have open classes, quite similar to the one that Cervantes has. And we have 25 different languages, but Spanish is one of the big 5. We have English, Swedish, French, Italian, and Spanish are the largest. We do have the largest number of people. And that, I guess, compared to what you say, is not compulsory studies, it's not school. It's really something very beautiful for Sweden. And Scandinavian country is something that out of passion of interest, you choose as an adult to study something that really, for enriching your life, changing your life. I've been myself a teacher I'm Italian, if you wonder, not Spanish, I might look like that. But it's so amazing to teach those classes because there is, I think it's quite different from teaching kids or teenagers, because there are really people that is motivated to learn and it has a passion of some kind, and they want to come. They come in the evening, often evening classes, in weekends, and they want to learn and they want to meet. So we also feel, my feeling is we feel a very important social function, also meeting point and activity in the evening, or maybe also to break isolation or something. And I don't know, but the social function of it is very, very important, as I said. I am here just because I happen to be in Stockholm, but I have some numbers with me that are national from Folkuniversitetet nationally. And we can see that we reach between 3,000 and 3,200 students nationally in Spanish, for Spanish at Folkuniversitetet, and between 1,500 and 1,700 are here, only here in Stockholm. So you can tell the difference of the size of our classes. And 2/3 of those students are women. So less men, more women, and the age span is everything between, I would say, 30 to 55, something like that. So it's very different kind of backgrounds and ages and motivation for coming to study at Folkuniversitetet. And something we also see is that is so much easier to start, beginners levels, and then as the difficulties increases, that we have been having difficulty to have higher level of Spanish. But we do have classes from A1 beginners to C1, but of course much fewer students at C1 level. And yeah, I guess that is what I have to say.
Grazie mille.
Prego.
Okay, now is the time for Ina Rösåsen from Tibel Gymnasium. And I have to say that this year, 2025, we broke the record of candidates of DELE exam, no? The official DELE exam, and one of the guilty persons of this success is Ingela, that really she is very much for the DELE, and she brought a number of students, no, to pass the DELE with very good results, on the other hand. Your time.
Yes, hello. I work at Tibble Gymnasium. It's a large institution located in Täby. And we have more or less 1,800 students. And every year we have students, about 500 students who take courses, over 500 students who take courses in Spanish. The most common courses are Spanish 3 and 4. It's the one who continue from upper secondary school to our school. But we also offer Spanish for beginners, Spanish 1 and 2, and advanced level, Spanish 5. And Spanish is the most popular foreign language at our school. And our students start at Tibble with good grades. They are quite ambitious, and which help them to do well in most subjects, even in Spanish. But sometimes the grades don't always reflect their true abilities, so that can be a challenge for teachers. We can have groups with students who know a lot from before, and students who barely can speak nothing in Spanish. So that's a little bit of a challenge. But and we are proud to offer our students who are in the second and third year, they can do a preparation course for DELE. It's a course I have had for about 4 years, and it's really interesting. The students are motivated and wants to learn Spanish good. So I hope I will still continue to have more and more students every year who wants to come to Instituto Cervantes to have DELE. Yeah, I think that's enough for now.
Thank you so much. Now is the time for Professor Emily Weverich. She works in Eklidens Skola, and she's a member of the Association of Teachers here in Stockholm. At this point, I want to thank to my dear friend Soledad Miguel, because she was very instrumental in preparing and calling some of the colleagues. And also to a lady, Lina Wallenstein, that was also very, very instrumental. Actually, unfortunately, she couldn't make it, but she made a number of calls. Actually, the very first idea was to invite her because in a volunteer way, she had made a mapping of Spanish teaching institutions in Sweden. And so I wanted her to present and maybe to give way to this talk. But, well, unfortunately, she couldn't make it, maybe in another occasion. But, well, I want to thank her. Emily, your time.
Thank you. I've never been called a professor before, so thank you very much. That was a highlight of my day. So I'm from the public school, secondary school. And in the school where I work, we have 900, maybe a little bit more actually still, 950 students, year 7 to 9. About 2/3 study Spanish. This is no surprise, you've already confirmed this. We have about 90% passing rate when we graduate them from 9th grade. We have made sure that they passed the Skolverkets bedömningsmaterial, the assessment material available to us on the platform. However, we are then surprised, perhaps, or shocked, may I say, perhaps even appalled to hear from the receiving high schools that the students don't have sufficient knowledge of Spanish. This is very sad to us, and it surprises us. However, it also becomes very clear that we're not doing enough. And this is not only a problem in my own public school, it's a recurring problem. We can see it in the whole of Nacka, but also in parts of Sweden. Now we need to focus on this part, the city compared to the countryside. Do not forget about the countryside. We're talking about problems that we see in the bigger cities. However, the problem that we have in the countryside would be lack of teachers, lack of qualified teachers. The 6 Spanish teachers at my school are all qualified, native, non-native speakers of the language. But in the countryside, the problem is a bit different, isn't it? Non-qualified teachers, most of them, so would say that they want to be qualified, but may not have the measures to do so. September 2025, we got Professionsprogrammet, the competence, help me translate this. Competence Development Program, Professional Development Program of Skolverket has just launched, which makes it possible for teachers, qualified and non-qualified, to reach another degree and also to advance at their workplace. How about the Instituto Cervantes being part of this? Would this be possible? Perhaps we should look into this. Instituto Cervantes might be present in other parts of the country. Could it be possible? Because the universities that are listed in the Professional Development Program and Skolverket are the bigger universities. We can do this by distance as well, of course. But this is an important part of making the status better for Spanish teachers. We need to be qualified. We need to have it black and white, because it symbolizes something and it communicates something, doesn't it? We have big groups. We have always had big groups in Spanish ever since like a decade or maybe 15 years or so. And this is a constant struggle. We lack resources. We need teacher assistants. Well, we don't have any. A public school, there's no budget for teacher assistants. There is a lack of a lot of things, but not of students. This is a dilemma. We're hardworking teachers in Spanish, most of us, and we want to achieve what we dream of. Of course, we want to see our students as future teachers of Spanish or future EU citizens. We want them to travel, we want them to work using the language. But most of my students, they go to Mallorca because they have a house there. They use their Spanish to order ice cream. Most of my students have a house there. Did you hear that? So I don't work in a socioeconomic challenged area. However, we do have students that need the resources that we don't have, still a public school, that this is a constant struggle. So, even though it's a bit of a repetition, it's because it's important to say. Bigger groups doesn't facilitate learning most of the time, especially not when you're trying to emphasize speaking, because speaking is very important when you're traveling with the language or when you're working with the language as well. But I think we have some more points to raise. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emery. And well, last but not least, my teammate in the Spanish Embassy crew, Andrea Rodriguez Pardo.
Hi. Yeah, well, I think most of the topics have already been mentioned, so I would like to focus on what Emily's just said about the resources, which in fact we can provide help to the teachers of Spanish because we have resources, we have teachers, we have language assistants, but it is the municipalities that need to, call them. So that's the tricky question. We can also help with the teacher training. We have programs. We don't only have these summer courses, which are very useful, of course. But we also have continuous training during the year. We offer several opportunities. But the main issue here is that Sweden doesn't recognize our courses. So is the issue. Teachers don't have the way to attend. Sometimes we need to do it on Friday afternoons or even Saturdays, because it's not possible for the teachers to miss their classes. They don't get the permission to go. So this is maybe something we can work with, School Worket, I don't know, or we can discuss. But actually, there are things we can do. Having a language assistant in the class is very useful. I know that. Raquel Osterberg knows that very well. Fredrika knows that. Because they've been language assistants in the past in Sweden, as they are now in Norway. We are mentioning Norway because it's one of the other Nordic countries which is more similar in that sense, and they have language assistants every year. The number keeps stable, and it's proven that helps. I mean, I know it also personally because I was a language assistant myself, like couple of decades ago. And it helps because, as we said, like imagine having like 30, 35 students in a class, which they also have 35 sometimes. And if you want to speak, how many minutes do the average student get to speak? 1.5? It's not much. But if we can divide this class in 2 parts and having help for also that person is a younger person usually, students don't feel afraid to talk to them. She's not going to grade them, so they speak. They are not afraid to make mistakes. So it's helpful and useful. So this is what we can offer. We also have some other resources, and and we have a lot of will and interest and energy. So please use us, and that's what I can do, what I can say. Thanks.
Muchas gracias, Andrea. Well, okay, we are done with the first leg, with the first question, and the second question. I would like that at the end of this session we'll have a sort of diagnosis of the situation, and for that, I'm sorry, I'm very traditional, no? But I think that this SWOT method, no, can be useful and very easy than only to take the words, no. So now we start a round. We can start the Dutch with Rosasen, just with one word, maybe 2, but not 3. Who is telling 3 words is eliminated. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of Spanish teaching in Sweden, teaching of Spanish language in Sweden, according to your point of view, of course, and your knowledge of your institution. Go ahead.
The strengths, I see the strengths is that Spanish is a language that many young people want to learn. They are motivated, they want to travel, they want to live in Spain or in other countries, and then they feel it's useful for them to learn Spanish. That's the strength. The weakness is, as we have talked before here, the big groups, lots of students, like 30, 35, for 1 hour. It's impossible for everyone to really speak and have good conversations. So opportunities, I see, like, for me, the certificates of Spanish here at Tele, it's opportunity, and I would like more schools, upper secondary schools, to have the possibility to send their students here to make a certificate, because I see that it motivated my students a lot, and some of them are already living in Spain, so they were really wanted to have the certificate to study in Spain and work. So one threat that me and my colleagues are concerned about right now is the discussion about remove the merit point system in upper secondary school, because we we think that then students will prefer to take easier courses and not continuing with, for example, Spanish and know Spanish at a good level. We saw that happen. We had a situation like that before the merit point system 2011. And I think that would be really sad if this is going to happen in the future, because that would be bad for not only Spanish, but for all foreign languages in Sweden.
Okay, thank you. Raquel Esterberg.
The strength is the Spanish-speaking community, the interest for Spanish in Sweden, the dynamic situation of Spanish that we can observe everywhere. So it's a very positive situation. The weakness, from my point of view, is what you mentioned also, the difference between countryside and big cities, and how to supply for qualified teachers on the countryside, and also to make sure that we have languages taught on the countryside, because we have a shortage of teachers, but we have also a tendency to sometimes shut down school subjects like French or German because of the lack of the teachers. And I think that is it's really a weak point in society if we want to make students or young people to learn and to want to learn languages. Opportunities is perhaps for what Andrea mentioned, the linguistic auxiliaries. I would very much like to have them back in Sweden, because we have experience of making Spanish-speaking auxiliaries to come through the Swedish context. It makes a difference, and it's also connected to the weakness of big groups. So I think that is an opportunity. It's also an opportunity for already qualified teachers to strengthen the competencies to go to Spain and to become a linguistic auxiliary. And the final part was
Threats.
Threats is the present situation of the possible loss of credit points and the loss of the opportunity to count Spanish as among the 16 or 17 school subjects when you apply for upper secondary school. I think it's a threat, among others. We need to work with the status of Spanish to make young people understand that it's important.
Frederica.
Well, thank you. I will not be repeating everything, because I really think the strength and the good things are this community, the huge interest, and also the status. I mean, the status of knowing not only Spanish but other languages is still high in our community. We appreciate that people know languages and Spanish, but the threat and the danger is attitudes from above, or how do you put it? Because it also takes a lot of. It is a big challenge to learn a new language. It requires time, loads of hours and opportunities. And sometimes you have the feeling that someone who decides things, perhaps politicians, think that it is easy. It is easy to learn a new language and it goes quickly, and it doesn't. So that's a threat. That's the attitude, not only towards Spanish, but towards language learning. I think that's actually quite very frustrating, because it's not only Spanish. It requires time and resources, and we don't provide that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikael Bergkrantz.
Yes, so let's start with strengths. Just off the top of my head, obviously Spanish is a popular choice among students, and that's very very nice. And also in upper secondary school, at least, it's Spanish and language learning is available for all students in Sweden in both vocational programs and programs that prepare for higher education. I think that's different from many other countries where you many students who don't if they decide to go into vocational education, they attend another type of schooling or education than gymnasium. In many countries, gymnasium is equal to preparatory for higher education. So that's also a strength, I think, that it's available. Spanish and other languages are available to all students between the ages of 16 and 19 or 20. A couple of weaknesses that I thought of, we've already mentioned it. There are high turnover rates for teachers of Spanish in general. Teachers of Spanish, I don't know why, they leave the profession. Maybe they don't have certification from the beginning and then they teach perhaps other subjects and are asked to, they might be native speakers of Spanish, they might be asked to teach Spanish for a couple of semesters and then they leave to move on to other things. So we need to make sure that they stay in the profession and become certified. And we already said that. However, it's also interesting that it's not as common for teachers of Spanish to have certification as for teachers of other languages. So that might be something to work with as well. The difference isn't that great, but still, it's slightly lower than for other languages. And then I would like to comment on what we said about the merit point system as well, and I suppose that counts as a threat. Yes, a public inquiry has proposed that the merit point system shall be abolished, removed, but it's still only a public inquiry. And it takes years for it to come into effect. And we're not sure right now what the government thinks about this proposal. There has been a public consultation after the inquiry, which has given many institutions, including Skolverket, an opportunity to give their response to this proposal, suggestion. And it's met with heavy criticism from many language institutions. I know, everyone knows that here, including Skolverket. Perhaps Skolverket hasn't directly criticized the idea, but what we said is that if it becomes reality, there must be other measures to make students interested in pursuing language studies. And what we talked about this, how to write about this in the response. And from what we know, the government is still interested in having students learn languages, and if that's the starting point, that we need people in Sweden who study languages also at higher levels, there must be other measures to make them interested in choosing both languages and mathematics, which also gives merit points. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Elisa?
Thank you. Actually, when I was considering those points, for me it's a bit difficult to consider them from the point of view of the teacher, so I was considering them most from the point of view of the students at our institution. And I think, which is the first one? Strength. The first one is, of course, as everyone else has been mentioning, the position of the Spanish language in the Swedish society, in Sweden, in Swedish society, the connection that with the Spanish-speaking languages in Sweden, the communities, the Spanish-speaking communities. So it's really a strength, and as I see it. And then the weakness is, as I see for my students, is keeping up the motivation for learning up to a higher level, because there is this enthusiasm when you start the beginning and start communicating, but then, as you all know, the learning curve just plan out, and then it's a bit difficult, and then you have to study by yourself and so. And then opportunities is really about the possibility. If you want to speak Spanish in Sweden, you can do it. You really can meet people that speaks. You can come here, come to a place, but also all the you really can speak if you want to. And threats, this is maybe a more general thing than just for Spanish. Something that I personally have been considering a lot working with languages is what's in today's society the meaning of learning a language. Because with all is why do you want to learn a language? Because before it was kind of, you had to do it if you want to communicate, live in Spain, live in another country. But now with all this technical application, AI and everything, so you can manage everyday life in a country, not everyday life, but at least tourist level without any particular effort. It's very easy to see if we compare with other languages that has been barrier language, like very different language like Chinese and Japanese, for instance, before. You can see that the tourism into those countries has been raising really a lot because of the communication barriers has been lowered by the, among other things, AI and translators. So why should I put in the effort of learning a language like Spanish? And then, of course, if you're moving and you're living there, that's all a different reason. But that is really a threat. Also, I'm considered the old ways of learning a language. It's quite disrupting this new technology, and we see also something that we are seeing at many people that learn with applications, with apps, and then there's lack of the communication part. So we find that it's very, very important that they come and have these communication skills, but with teachers also. So teachers are really, really important. But it really raises a lot of questions. Why?
Thank you. Emily?
Thank you. I think one of the most acute threats to what we're talking about tonight is the non-mentioning of the native tongue, the mother tongue, Spanish as a mother tongue. We haven't touched this tonight, which is interesting. And we need to reinforce the mother tongue as well, the teachers and the profession in itself. Now, another threat is, I agree, sure, AI, that's fine. We can travel all over the world, that's great, I love it. However, in times like these, more so now than ever before, we need to connect with people face to face. We need to understand where they come from. I need to understand my own background. Thanks to my teacher from Guatemala, I can, even though we don't share the same country. It's just an example, but you understand the idea. Thanks to my mother tongue teacher, I can understand where I come from and I can reconnect with other people. And this is an opportunity that we have that we cannot forsake any longer. I think the challenges that we're talking about tonight should not just stay in here. It's also one of the threats that we see. We need to make these events more powerful in terms of more people coming here. I hope we are inclined to repeat an event like this in the future, because we have a lot of opportunities. We need to make this into a political thing as well. I am fearing that when this political term is over next year, we might repeat the same thing over again. Perhaps we need another political movement that reinforces the contact between people and doesn't distance us from other people or from other countries, which is what we can see now. There is no priority in learning other languages. There is less. So the Nordic countries, especially Sweden, is withdrawing from its continental businesses and contacts, which is alarming. Thank you.
Thank you. What I would like to say, I thought to say it at the end, no, but you gave me the room for that. I want to propose the creation of a working group with representatives, yourselves, no, that are here, no. So to have a network, to be in touch, maybe to get together, I don't know, once, twice a year, or 3 times a year, to exchange information, to make probably projects together, some of them, and then we can talk about that at the end, or maybe in the next day. No? So, thank you. Mr. Robert? Roger, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try to be brief. I think the strength is the great number of students we've got in schools, and that many of them are studying Spanish. That is great strength, I think. The weakness could be that the results are not what we wish, especially not in spoken language. And that's not only for Spanish. I think I've heard the same from Institut Français and from the Goethe Institute. And also that many pupils, or students, stop learning the second language after 4th course, or what do you say nowadays? They should go on and study to high degrees. I thought a long time about the opportunities, but I think you mentioned something. There is a recommendation from the Council of Europe about language learning, plurilingualism and democracy in the heart of democratic citizenship, something. And I think that could be a way of motivating more people. Now, democracy is at threat in many places, and maybe there is a counter-reaction, and then language could be one part of that counter-reaction. Learn more languages for democracy's sake. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Thank you, director person. Andrea?
Yeah, well, and not only that, because it's been proven that learning and speaking more than one language protects against brain aging. It was published today in Spain, at least. So it's also a health issue, learning more than one language. And well, the strength we have here, I mean, students, of course, but I would like to point out to the teachers, because students recognize that when they are good, it's because of their teachers. They told me that yesterday. I was in Lund, celebrating the International Day of Science for Peace and Development with Spanish scientists and also German and French. It was like a common initiative we did, a high school there. And yeah, that was, their level was super good. So congratulations to the teachers. That's our strength, I think. And we have a lot of opportunity here. There are lots of agents involved in the teaching of foreign languages. And in spite of the maybe political situation, which doesn't favor modern foreign languages, we need to keep our strength and keep working. So I think that's not much to say. Thanks.
Gracias, Andrea. Now is the last question for the panelists. Then we will give room to the audience. In the audience, there is someone that probably can speak about model language teachers. Actually, there was one teacher invited, but at the end she couldn't make it. So then at the end now, what according to you, what Instituto Cervantes and the Spanish Embassy can do here in Sweden to promote to help to improve the Spanish language teaching. I have to say that even while there is room to improve, of course, and maybe according to some people a lot of room to improve, I think that Andrea and myself, we agree that Sweden is one of the best countries in the world regarding the situation of Spanish language teaching. No? If you compare to most of the countries where I have been in all my career, well, really sometimes I have to make this to my eyes, no? To see, for instance, the existing of this mother tongue teaching, no? The little children are taught the language of origin. Well, my goodness, that's fantastic, no? So, but we are here to improve and to make it as much as better. So, what can we do for you, no? Maybe the conclusion, I joke a little bit, but maybe it's, well, okay, you have the channels, you have a lot of teachers, I have a lot of agencies, maybe we can do nothing, no? So we are very happy to be here. But so we want to hear directly from you, what can we do? How to improve our role here? Please.
Sorry. One idea is that the Spanish Embassy and Instituto Cervantes maybe can help schools in Sweden to collaborate with schools in Spain to do exchange trips and programs, because, for example, exchange trips motivates students a lot and help them deepen their understanding of the Spanish culture and language also. So I think that would be really nice. And also maybe Instituto Cervantes could offer short courses like for teachers, for Spanish teachers to come here and have short courses, maybe 10 times or something, to learn something new. It's an idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I have to say that it's, of course, Instituto Cervantes is a Spanish institution, but of course we work together with all the Spanish-speaking embassies. We have here representation of Panama with the ambassador, we have Guatemala, we have República Dominicana, we have, not very, very official, but actually we have Bolivia, we have a lot of Chilean friends, so I mean, this has to be extended to other Spanish-speaking countries that, of course, are very much interested, definitely, of course, to promote Spanish teaching here in Sweden. Raquel?
First of all, thank you for what you're doing, Instituto Cervantes, because you are helping us and giving support. And I was thinking, just before I went to this meeting, I had a lesson in grammar with Spanish to the second semester of Spanish, and I asked them what they wanted to say, and I had two responses. One of them was that how it's about teacher motivation. So I'm thinking of the possibility to support teachers, I mean qualified teachers, in their work. You're already doing it, but I think that there is a need for more, because if you're not, I mean, if you're going to face a group with 32 students and you don't feel sure about how to use grammar or speak the language in a group, it's because they said that is a problem, because I think that we have been working a lot with the written language because of the student thesis that they need to do. But I mean, speaking about grammar, being a model in the classroom is so important. And I felt so sorry when I heard about it, because I think it's the central part, how to be able to speak and to show with your, I mean, in the classroom, how to do that. So we would need to get students, I mean, our students, to come to Instituto Cervantes and to, I mean, really to make them come, and also perhaps offer them some kind of course in this. And I have other ideas also, but I will leave that to my colleagues.
For the working group.
Yeah, I just want to add, but I know you are doing so many things, and also the collaboration with the Spanish teacher organization, Spansklärarföreningen, which is very important. But maybe we have to, in some way, make it easier to get all the information, because you are doing a lot of things, and if you are engaged in something already, you get the information and you go there. But many teachers, they get their information from their municipality, kommunen, or the university. And I'm thinking like Raquel, that part of the education, part of the professional development is coming here to this point, to this room. I think every Spanish teacher needs to go here several times a year. I think that's a starting point, and then you sign up for these Facebook groups or this list, and then you get the invitations, and then there's the possibility that you can also ask your colleague, are you going? Because you don't go on your own unless you are like we, very nerds, that go, because there are so many Spanish teachers that miss out on all the good things that you are doing, and also these language assistants. That's a fantastic way. I just had to add that. So, yeah.
Gracias, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'd just like to add to that. I think in many cases it's a question of financing how to give teachers a chance to attend these events. So that might also be something to think about. And also, you mentioned in your introduction that there are quite a low number of students studying Spanish at the Institute compared to other Instituto Cervantes in other parts of the world. And that might be, a reason for that might be that it's possible to study Spanish in school and that it's free. So maybe one way of going about that is to think about what schools can't give students. Is there anything that schools you can't be taught in school? Maybe the institute could provide students with that. That's similar to what my colleagues here have suggested as well, I think. Also, I thought along the lines of information, just as you said. We talked about teacher certification. Maybe there could be information in Spanish about how to receive teacher certification. If you go to Skolverket's website, there's lots and lots of information that's not relevant for teachers of one specific subject. And it's definitely not in Spanish. And other than that, I think promotion material in general and awareness-raising material is always very, very interesting for teachers. If it's ready-made, you can get leaflets from the institute and give it to students. Maybe you already have lots of those. But things like that, campaigns about studying languages, where you show young people how they could use language skills. Maybe you could use famous people in Sweden that have learnt Spanish and used that in their professions. I don't know, something like that. Thank you.
Good idea.
Yes, I was thinking along the line of also teachers training, and about both finance and the difference between countryside and city, also offering training online so that everyone can come nationally from Sweden but also from other country. And you have this excellent institute in Madrid, I think, that we were talking about last week, and then that would be absolutely great if you could, our teacher could have access to fortbildning, I would say, training education.
I'm happy to hear that, because after 1 year in Sweden, one of the lines that I propose to strengthen to our headquarters, and I have already asked for help, is the training of teachers. Because I don't know, but I think that Sweden might be the country in the world, or in the top 3, with the biggest number of teachers in Spanish language per habitant in the world. No? So I mean, we have to target to address ourselves to teachers. No? So I mean, we go for it. Then I want to say also that we have a certificate for teachers. It's a pretty new product. It's the DADIC. And so also I would like to share with you. Maybe we can have some session for those teachers that want to come, or make it online. Because, well, I think that is important also, no? To have the certificate, the level of teachers. We have the level of students, and Ingela is a great promoter. I thank you very much for that. She is doing part of my job, promoting DELE. But I think that we should also address to teachers, especially because there are, I mean, gaps, since there are so many teachers and in very different circumstances, as Emily pointed out, that the gap is big, no? And so there are teachers with an excellent level and others that really maybe need more training, no? Thank you. Emily?
Another gap that could be considered big is the distance between this part of the world and Latin American countries. Now, I know a lot of students that know a lot about Spain, but the Latin American continent is still quite foreign to them. I'm going to sound very cynical now, so be prepared. But as a teacher, I'm used to sitting in meetings, discussing things, and having many ideas, and then the ideas get us nowhere because there is a budget. So my question is to the Spanish embassy and all the other embassies that are presented here today. What can you do for us? When you look into this matter, what do you think you can do for us? What do you think you want to do for us? Because it matters if you want to do it, if you are motivated.
We can bring Latin America to you.
Right? Because we have our students, we're talking about motivation, student motivation. If they want to do it, they can do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. And we don't know what you can do, but we're very curious to know what's on offer because we're very interested. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
Yeah, well, when I was teaching French, I always asked my new students, why did you choose to study French? And at least 90% of them always answered, because French is so beautiful to listen to. So I think the Spanish community should take on something like the fun of learning language. The Spanish-speaking world is so diverse and so big and has so many fun things. And I think that sometimes in classrooms we might lack energy and joy. How could you do that? I think that the most interesting conferences I've been to have been about what is the culture like, what is happening in El Salvador politics now, for example, what is happening in schools in Mexico, how do young people in Spanish Guinea? Yeah, Equatorial Guinea. What do they do during their breaks? Because sometimes when we try to motivate the students, we say that, we have got great commercial connections with this country and that country, but 12-year-olds, they don't bother about that. They want to have fun. So I think French beautiful and Spanish very fun.
Thank you. Well, in this point, I want to acknowledge also the presence of Pat from the Philippine Embassy. And they had there a fantastic slogan, the DOT, Department of Tourism, that is, there's more fun in the Philippines. And I can guarantee that it's true, because I've been living in the Philippines for more than 10 years. And, I think it was a good slogan. Maybe we have to borrow from you, from DOT, and to use it, no? There is more fun in Cervantes, no? So maybe it might come along. Andrea.
Well, I think I already pointed out to our institutional programs, the language assistant, and we also have visiting teachers, but again, we can offer the teachers, we make the selection, we make everything there in Spain, but you need to pay for them, I mean, municipalities, so that's the issue. Yes, that's what you said, Emily, exactly. But apart from that, our training is for free. The courses we offer in Spain in the summer are for free. Well, you need to pay for the trip, of course, but everything else, accommodation and everything is for a week. That's for free, and all our training is also for free.
Gracias.
No, yo también agradecer, y la verdad que yo solamente llevo un mes y medio aquí en Suecia, y quiero decirles que mi vida diplomática está en muchos países y este es el primer país donde veo tanto interés por el español. O sea, de verdad es genuino. O sea, voy al supermercado y la gente quiere practicar conmigo español, y es la primera vez también porque he lidiado con muchos institutos Cervantes donde tenemos a un director que realmente hace una labor de verdad, o sea, que realmente es verdad. Esto es la casa donde nosotros los latinoamericanos también nos sentimos que es nuestra casa y donde podemos promover nuestra cultura. Y bueno, yo estoy de acuerdo que el tema de la motivación es lo más importante, ¿no? Para ver cuáles son las motivaciones de los estudiantes para seguir aprendiendo el idioma. Y uno no sabe muy bien si es por conseguir un trabajo, si por conocer más de literatura latinoamericana y española, si es por el tema artístico, si es por el tema... Pero definitivamente que sí sabemos que son estudiantes y que quieren have fun. Entonces yo solamente dejo aquí un poquito así sobre la mesa que cuando yo estuve embajadora del Reino Unido, desarrollamos un programa en conjunto que ellos tienen que se llama Touring Scheme, que es como un Erasmus, que yo sé que el Erasmus tiene una parte internacional, y desarrollamos una colaboración de social service, de servicio social. Pero los estudiantes de Reino Unido viajaban, en nuestro caso a Panamá, hacían servicio social, pero también se compenetraban con estudiantes de Panamá, practicaban el idioma y a la misma vez hacían una obra humanitaria. Entonces yo, toda mi ayuda y colaboración por si alguno quiere desarrollar esto con sus escuelas, porque podríamos ver las posibilidades. Y muchísimas gracias por todo el impacto que hacen en este país con el español.
So, muchas gracias a todos. Thank you very much indeed, Taxo Amiket. So, that won't be the last time we got together, for sure. Thank you so much. Thank you to the audience. It was very important to have you here. And that's it. We can continue talking, but with a glass of wine in our hands. Muchas gracias.